Hi guys, it's Rebecca here, and I'm excited to hop into some tips here about organizing your time, some time management tips, and just strategies to help us make this all happen as smoothly as possible. So we're going to go into some ways that you can do this. Now, I am still working on these too, so full disclosure, I am not perfect. Surprise, surprise. But these are things that I have learned that do work when I'm intentional about it. So I'm excited to share them with you today. First up, we have 5 ways to organize your time. So we're going to talk about to-do list, time blocking, something called the power hour, a new concept maybe called habit stacking, and then close up with some cool apps and technology that will help out. And we'll go into those things more in our next video, also with using learning management systems to help us with new strategies for school and work. So one of my favorite authors is Rory Vaden in Take the Stairs. He says, there's no such thing as time management. There's only self-management. And we all have the same amount of time, right? We're all trying to work through those same 24 hours a day. And it's what we are doing with that time to navigate through that. So we ask for a lot of wisdom and support and the Holy Spirit to speak through us through all of these things every day. But this is something you can do. So the first thing is what a lot of us would start with, right, is that to-do list, going through and listing things. So this is a great place to start. We probably do it anyways, and your students might as well. We're going to talk about what do you do on a to-do list, right? You just write down all the things to do. You might need to prioritize and plan. It just helps us to kind of brain dump, right? Sometimes we're trying to get through life and you just have to write it down, right? When I have like a running grocery list of things as I think about it throughout the day, sometimes it's a physical paper and sometimes it's a digital thing on your phone, and that's fine. Any way you do that, this is just like the baseline, trying to get things organized, get a to-do list, write it down. What I like to do with my kiddos is to have them write down their own list, right? They're going to start writing things and I'm thinking that's not important, but I don't want to redirect too much. I want them to take ownership because ultimately we want to teach them how to do this themselves, right? We don't want to just be telling our kiddos what to do all the time. We want to help enable them to be the better people, and we can also model these things ourselves. So a lot of this is stuff we're thinking maybe it would be good for us to do also. um, so she started this list, my daughter, and then I kind of added something in there like, hey, we're probably going to have to do a live video with your teacher. And this is just kind of leaning into what our schedule will be, and we're going to probably tweak this and fine tune it as we go. So that's just the first thing. So next is, what do we do with that to-do list, right? What are we actually going to be doing with all of those things? And that's actually putting them in your schedule, not just having this laundry list of things and stressing out, looking at when are we going to do this. Let's actually put those things on the schedule. So you need to do this several different ways, and you're going to always start with those immovable things. These are things you have to do, right? Like school, we might have a specific Zoom time or a meeting they have to do, checking in with certain teachers certain times. Your work meetings, right? We probably need to sleep, so make sure that's in there for sure, and make sure you're getting enough sleep, because without that, the whole world will crash and burn probably. Other appointments and meetings as you go through. Making sure you just are starting with those big blocks first, because those are kind of non-negotiable a lot of the time. You might have to do this every day, every week. That's okay. Just know that it will change. And also think about, how are you throughout the day? Do you have a certain block of time where you are a rock star, you are knocking things out, you're doing well? Are there times where you know you're dead to the world? Just please don't touch me, children. Just leave me alone. I'm not going to be doing things now. Maybe that's when you need your kids to be doing all of their immovable things. So think about that. There's going to be multiple layers. It's not just you. You're navigating multiple schedules, and that's okay. But just think about those things as you go through. And also realize that you do need to protect your time, because it is your time. Your family might view things differently. Maybe you have special religious obligations. You want to make sure you have devotions. Not everyone's going to have that same priority, but for you, it might be something that's important. Maybe you have special appointments. Nowadays, if we're, all staying at home more, those are going to be lesser. But it's okay to have those and make those priorities your own for your family. So kind of own that and be proud of that, and it's okay. And realize your schedule is going to look different than other people. So don't be worried about comparing and getting into that, comparison, showing it on Instagram, Facebook. I saw a lot of schedules coming out earlier, but this is for you. This is just for you. So let's practice. So here's a couple ways of it this can look like. So like with my kiddo, we took that list she made and we put all of those items onto Post-its. So we use actual physical Post-its. This is a great tool you can use with your students. That's kind of low tech and great to do. You can put things on the schedules and you could see, okay, well, we have to start with those immovable things. If you want to do more of a digital version, there's this cool program called Jamboard from Google. You could do that if you want to be fancy pantsy. And you could do that. Again, start with those immovable things. You might have to guide your student to those if they are younger or older, maybe. Maybe they just don't want to actually do the things and they think there's no time. This is a great way to see, okay, what do we really have to deal with and what's really happening? And the thing that I like about the Post-its is that if this is your daily schedule, maybe you missed something. Maybe you woke up later. Maybe something happened. Maybe mom was in a meeting and couldn't help the kiddo do this math problem. You can pick up the Post-it and move it down. So that's what I like. It's not stress. It's something that can be changed. And maybe a good idea is having a color Post-it for each person in your family and seeing how those kind of fit together. And maybe if you want to prioritize certain colors, certain things, but I just would say in general, don't overcomplicate it. I thought about making a grid and lining it up. Like whatever you're going to do that make it fancy, just wait and try the simplest version first before you get too elaborate, because that will happen. So here's what it looks like. Again, start with immovable things, put things in a time where you're going to be more focused. And if your learner is having math and it's really hard, but they really can focus better in the morning, put it there. If they're just going to be brain dead at 3 o'clock, maybe don't do those hard subjects then, right? Some of that we don't have a say on, and I realize that, but do what you can to make the schedule work for you. How awesome that we can have a unique time to lean in and create something that is really idyllic for your family the best you can. And then, of course, you guys can do spreadsheets and fancy things on your phones. I won't dig into that. I just like this quote from Mark Twain. It's ridiculous, and I like talking about it with my kids because I think it's disgusting. But if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. And this is something I am always working on because I will avoid things I do not like. And then at the end of the day, it didn't happen. I think tomorrow's the day. It's going to be amazing. And then it doesn't happen. Usually laundry. So I shall start that in the morning. I'm going to put that on my time block priority. That could also segue into our power hour. Now, this term is used for lots of different things, different just motivational things, different like sales. I've heard it used a lot of different ways. So, but what I'm talking about today specifically is finding an power hour or 15-minute chunks where you can just burst focus on those things that just have to get done. Like for me, again, laundry. Maybe it's personal chores, self-care. That could be a shower, right? Sometimes we need reminders to do that for our teenagers as well. And just like prepping your workspace, getting it ready, plugging in all the gear. So maybe find a time where you have 15 minutes and set the timer, set a reminder. It's amazing how much you can get done in 15 minutes when you're cleaning. I bet your kids could clean their room in 5 minutes if they were really, really focused. I know my kids can, but they like to drag it out for like 4 hours with lots of moaning and groaning and gnashing of teeth. So we're going to work on this. And me too, and modeling that and kind of doing it together as a family is kind of good for the younger kiddos too. All right, and this one is very interesting and it's newer to me. It's called habit stacking. This is something that came from James Clear. He has a great book I recommend if you want to grab this. If this is something intriguing, I have listened to it on Audible because that's when I do it, when I'm doing my laundry. Hey, making it all work. So this is a cool concept, and I'm not going to dig into it too much because I don't want to make your brains blow up. But basically, it's like triggering little things in your brain. So there's a cue that happens, and then you kind of put something in between that you're going to do that maybe you don't necessarily like to do, but you need to do. And so it's going to give you a reward as well. So an example is after I get up, I will brush my teeth, right? Before I turn on my computer, I will check my schedule. So those things that you're going to do anyways, you're just going to get up, right? So after you get up, what's something you need to maybe work on if you're a 5-year-old, right? Brushing your teeth. So stick that right next to getting up. Maybe you're sandwiching something else like you're always going to turn your computer or your phone, right? Maybe before you do that, or the first thing you do when you turn on your phone is opening up your devotional or something like that. That's something I've been working on. It's been really helpful and kind of keeps me accountable to making sure that actually happens before getting sucked into the day and all the busyness that happens. So here's just another visual if you like this. Again, James Clear has so many awesome tools and blogs and TED Talks on this. So if this is something that's intriguing to you, you start small and just build as you go. And it's something that anybody at any age can do. And it's really pretty neat. I'd love to hear how you are using habit stacking strategies. And just the last tip and nugget we want to dig into, and again, we're going to do this more on our next talk with talking about preparing your digital workspace. But just a couple things for more of the time management world is this is cool app. There's lots of things out there. This is one I've found kind of fun and my girls like as well, called Forest. It is a small fee, but it's pretty cool. And you can set it for a little time. So if you want to grow like a little bush, you just set it for a little time, or a big tree, and you set it on your phone. And so this could do for like a device. If you need to focus on your math homework for 15 minutes, you set it to 15 minutes, and then as long as you don't use your phone, it grows into this bush or a tree or whatever. But if you do use your phone, it kills the tree. It's kind of sad and melodramatic, but it's cool. And then you can grow your own little forest. You could share it with people, and I think they even like will plant an actual tree if you grow so many on your own digitally. So that's kind of just a fun thing for any age to get into as well. And then also just some extra little pro tips that I found really helpful is in your planning, include time to plan. It seems kind of silly, but is so helpful to maybe at the end of the day, maybe if you're doing it per week, just really so you feel like you're coming in with empowered, ready to go with your plan and all those tools ready to launch with your plan as well. And include some extra time, like for snowball tasks, I like to call that. Whether it's your Friday afternoons, you're going to keep busy for all the homework you forgot to do before, or your end of the evening, you realize things are probably going to take longer. We don't know exactly where, but we're going to leave a block of time. Don't block every bit of time. So many great things happen in life and biblically as well when you're in the journey from one place to another. And having those spaces ready and available to be used, just opening up to those opportunities and circumstances. And also incentives are great. If you need help, this saying no, it's a little easier when we don't have so many opportunities, but I found this list really helpful. It's by Christy Wright, and she wrote Business Boutique, which is a great book, but here is a link. You could probably just Google it. I think that's how I found it because I remember hearing it in her book as well. But some good tools on how you could say no to protect your time, because sometimes it's tricky getting that wording. And this is just some good ways to get your mind in the right frame of mind to kind of protect your time too. So I think that's it. If you have interest in any of those books or things as well, let me know. You guys have been great for listening. Sorry this took a little longer, but hopefully these have started your brain in some awesome ways you can get your time going. And we're going to hop back in with Stacy just to wrap things up. And thanks again so much.